Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to real quick show you an issue that one of you came across when you were making the rig because I think it's interesting and instructive. So if I build out the outliner here for a second, um, it looks like everything's fine. I look at this and I go, all right, you've got your constraints in the various places, and these are all parented together. They're all parented under a global control, which works, and it it's all fine. Everything is labeled, and except for the root control not being having frozen transformations, everything looks good until you go to rotate it, and then you get this. And this is it looks like a major problem of some sort. Oh my gosh, nothing is connected properly. Although we look over here and we see that it is, and we wonder what's going on. It's really common for a rigging problem to show up as just something completely bizarre and nuts. And what's happening in this case is that for some reason, if we break this down technically, when I rotate this, you can see that these are following. So all the controls are doing what they're supposed to. But this joint is not following this all the way. And then this is like also trying to bend. And it might be because it's trying to follow these. Actually, that's exactly what it is. Sorry, I'm just realizing this as I'm looking at it. Well, no, it's not, because these are rotated. So I'm thinking, oh, this has to be rotated just as much, but this one isn't. At any rate, there's something underlying going on. Now, I'm not the one who made this technically, so different computers have different settings, and so I wonder, well, what's going on? And my first thought is the culprit must be something to do with the constraints. Now, fortunately, as long as we have everything lined up back at 0, which I believe we do, yes. We should probably put that to 0 as well. As long as we have everything at 0, we can get rid of stuff and like re-put it on there. So selecting the orient constraint over here, I can delete it here as well. I showed it in the hypergraph, but you can actually select it in here and hit delete, delete, delete. And then the funny thing is if I put them back on with no other changes, it all works. So I go to my rigging and I go to my constraint. Let's see here. If I select this control and then this joint, I go to orient constraint. And, my guess is maybe the weight wasn't at 1. I'm not sure. But I make sure I have all my settings, maintain offset, everything else is the same as we did, and I hit apply. And it works. And then I can go here to here, hit apply. And then I realized I should probably check and make sure I did this in the correct order. I sure did. All right, so we go to this, and we click this, and I hit apply. And we can close this actually, because this one is going to be this and then this joint parent constraint, right? Because that one we were setting to a parent constraint instead of an orient constraint. And now we're basically back where we started, right? Like this is the same. This looks the same as the rig as it was handed in, and yet now for some reason it all functions properly. So the reason I show this is because when you look at the error that happened, it looks like everything is amiss. But really, what happens is probably either a setting was just off by a little or a wire got crossed. Maybe it could be the order he did them in. I'm not sure, but I did them. I started at the top and went to the bottom, except I forgot about the one that's actually at the top. So that wasn't it. But yeah, I just deleting these and reapplying them worked. So again, my guess is that it was just a setting. But the reason I showed is because the solution was so simple and the problem looked so like insurmountable. You don't have to know any math to know that just a connection was wrong. So when you see errors like that, when you see that you rotate something, we saw that the controls were following. So that means this was working properly, right? Like that's how we troubleshoot. We look at, okay, we've got controls. They're doing the right thing, so they're set up properly. But it's the joints that weren't following properly. And really, it's that this joint was not rotating as much as the thing. And that's what's supposed to happen. So because it wasn't, that tells me, oh, the orient constraint, something's wrong there. And then we just needed to fix it, and that was it. And so yeah, again, after the fact, when the file changes hands, it's hard to tell where it went, like exactly what went wrong, but the where it went wrong, because the joint was not following the control. And I can actually, I'm going to reopen the scene just to get it back to broken again. When we look at this error, technically what's happening is this joint is not rotating as much as its control, and it's supposed to. It is supposed to 100% mirror it. So then we know the constraint is the problem. And then in this case, this won't always be true, but in this particular case, all it took was replacing the constraint. So I delete that, and I'm very curious to see if it'll work to replace only this constraint. There we go. We'll see if things still function. Nope, so all the constraints have, oh, but look at this. This joint is now following this control. And I'll bet this one is the other broken one, because this one, oh no, this one's broken too. So this one's the other broken one. So we can do stuff like that. We can narrow it down. Which is the problem thing? Where is the discrepancy? What is the thing that is not behaving the way you expect it to, and go from there. Now it's working. Now it's working. And this isn't broken. So it means that whatever happened didn't happen on that joint or this joint. So actually my first solution was too many deleted constraints. I didn't need to delete those other two. It also can tell us, by the way, more troubleshooting features. In case you're not familiar with the outliner, you might look at this wrist joint and see, okay, well, this one, has the parental, or goodness gracious, the constraint and then the geometry. But the elbow joint underneath it has the geometry and then the constraint. Does that matter? No, because you can see that two of the joints have the constraint and then the geometry listed first, because that's the order they were put on, and the other two joints have the geometry listed first and then the constraint, because that's the order they were put on, and there's no change. They all work. So I just wanted to show you guys this so that you could see how to troubleshoot certain things, and to know that sometimes it is just a really simple answer. But if you look, at something when you're trying to figure out what's wrong, look at what's not behaving. Look very specifically at what's not behaving. These are behaving right here. These are perfect. These are bending. Yeah, that's weird, but we're not moving those things. So that's like a secondary thing. Look at the primary thing. I moved this control. This joint did not rotate enough. There's the crux of your problem. Fix that problem, then fix the next thing. All right. So hopefully that was my troubleshooting lesson for this week. I hope that helps further on down the line for you guys.